Drop the bomb now.
All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. You have tuned into This Pink Cloud, if you're wondering. We are a show on multiple pathways to recovery, and I am DJ Kelly Reverb, RSPS in the house, which is Recovery Support Peer Specialist. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure, I forgot to do this the last couple episodes, but be sure and subscribe to the channel if you're listening to us, so that the plug before content. Exactly. I always love to do that because I always forget to. But sitting in with me to my left would be the one, the only Chad Lamons.
Yeah, dude. DJ / cool guy.
Is that your moniker?
Yeah. That's the moniker.
Is
from
that
now
the
on.
moniker you're going
I think
with?
so. Until I come up with something like, I don't know,
something
with
better.
with some real adult undertones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like it's subtle, but it's there. You know what I mean? I'll come up with something one day.
Well, I mean, you're almost a DJ.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks, dude. Really appreciate that.
No, but you are a fantastic producer.
Yeah,
I will give you
whatever,
that.
dude.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout
Cut
out
me
for
down
that.
just to build me back up. I see what you're doing here, dude.
It's all out of love. It's all out of love. Hey, speaking of love, we have the lovely Soraya.
Soraya.
God, I knew I was gonna.
There we go.
I knew I was gonna step on it already.
It's okay.
Soraya Nicole.
Yes.
And she is an author, and I like to call her a hope influencer.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
So, because I guess we met through Dawn Gardner, who shout out Dawn.
Yes.
Shout out Dawn. Shout out the Phoenix.
Yeah,
Yes.
she works for the Phoenix.
Yes.
And then you actually met her.
I met her through the Phoenix.
And she was like, "Oh my God, you need to have this girl on."
Yeah.
So, weeks later,
are.
and here you are.
Yes.
So thanks for coming on. So usually what we do is we have the guests tell, a little bit of their backstory, and then, where they fixed it and how they fixed it.
Yes.
And then I know your writing has been a huge part of your recovery.
Yes.
But let's hear a little bit of the backstory.
Yes. Okay. So my addiction started really actually young when I was in high school. And that was more so just kind of like grabbing beers here and there. I had a recliner in my bedroom, and after I finished the beer, that's where the beer can went.
Okay.
That's where I would just hide it. I started smoking too. My first cigarette was when I was in 5th grade, and then more so in high school is when I really got into it. And I tried smoking weed and stuff and doing other things, but I did not like the lack of control that I had.
I love that you said that, because I was exactly there with you, and you are a true alcoholic,
Yes.
like myself, because
Yes.
I liked it because I could have control of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or so I thought.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. To
Right.
a point, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, I could just eat, or, oh, I could just like make myself throw up.
Right,
Or,
yeah.
But yeah, I tried weed and all. I mean, there was one time I smoked weed and I just, every single emotion under the sun, which is what I was trying to get away from, like right up in front. And I was like, I just wanted to hide underneath a table. So drugs were just not my choice. It just was not something for me. But as I got older and it just kind of was more of a social thing, but then would just drink even just at home by myself. And then I had gotten divorced my first time in 2006. And that's when I really began like heavily drinking, because I didn't understand at that time, I was in my early 20s, what was really going on with me. Say like right now I have this different perspective, but back then it was just chaos in my mind and just emotions and things that I just could not handle and process. Nor could I communicate. So all I knew was, well, I'm just going to go drink. I'm just going to find people to party with. I would go to a bar down the street. I would drive home. So I would drive home drunk all the time. But in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm not that far away, right? But it doesn't matter. I mean, you could still
Sure.
You can
Right.
get a DUI, you can still get in an
You can
accident, you
get-
can
yeah.
kill somebody and kill yourself, you know?
Right.
But that's the addict mindset of like, oh, well, it's not like that bad, or if I just do it just a little bit, or if I'm not that far away.
Right.
But it really kind of just spiraled out of control after my divorce. And a lot of things from the time that I got divorced to the time of my deciding to get sober happened. I had been
So you didn't really, you were socially navigating alcohol somewhat successfully until the divorce, and then the
Yes.
divorce was okay. I've got the solution for this, and it's my friend alcohol.
I'm going to come home and I'm
Right.
going to drink every single day. I'm going to still go and work out and take care of myself to like some degree. But at that time too, I was about 260 pounds
Okay.
and in my marriage. And then I started to lose the weight. But then now, like again, with the addict mindset is I want to drink. So I'm not going to eat certain
Right,
things.
yeah.
Right.
Hey, you
Calories
gotta-
matter to me now, you know?
Exactly,
So
exactly.
I
right.
would not eat certain things just so I could
And
drink
were
9
you?
beers.
Well, no. That's when you start going. Ooh, I need to drink just vodka because that's low calorie.
True.
And then I don't need a mixer with that. If I do, it's just water.
Yeah.
So yeah.
yeah, man. It's you get creative.
Yeah, sure,
We'll
of course.
put it that way.
Allocating those calories. Yes.
Yeah. So one of the bars that I actually used to like go to quite frequently, closed it out, and the owner of that bar followed me outside and ended up attacking me and sexually assaulting me in the parking lot.
wow.
He would have raped me if I didn't get away. And so I went to my neighbor's house when I got home. I was like shaking and obviously drunk. They
Is
called the
this in
police.
Chicago or
Yeah.
okay?
They call the police, and the police go out there and they try to get the guy to come out. They like open up the doors to the bar so like the alarms would go off to get the guy to come there, just to kind of catch him. And nothing really ended up happening of that. And that was kind of like my first taste of really understanding that the justice system was not going to protect me, and I didn't have protection
Sure.
when things happened to me. And even though I was drunk, that kind of, for whatever reason, that gives like less credibility when women are assaulted, or a male even, could be assaulted. So that increased my drinking, of course, because now I've been
You've got a little PTSD to deal with.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I already had some trauma from some just we grow up in these environments that
Right.
everybody's got generational trauma, and that's one thing.
Right.
Like nobody comes unscathed out
Right.
into this
Well,
world.
what they
you
they
know?
say a lot of, I've seen it like in psychology courses and classes, they'll say there's like all a bunch of small T's,
Yes.
and then they can add up to a big T, so to speak. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It all builds up, and so even though it seems like dysfunction is normal in your family, doesn't make dysfunction normal. Just because it's consistently there, it's not a normal thing. For just different mindsets that are put through, or brushing things under the rug, and just not addressing feelings, or even knowing how do I raise my child so that they can identify their feelings and that they can address their emotions so that they're not going to fall into addiction or sexual patterns, or things like that. Like I'm a firm believer that if there wasn't alcohol or drugs, I would figure out a way to eat as much grass as I could to
of
like
course.
numb myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Get it?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if somebody's bringing stuff over the border. We're gonna find whatever it is so that we can cope and that we can deal. I mean,
Sure.
That's just the
Well,
human
and
nature.
alcohol is a coping mechanism, which some people can use it properly or navigate it properly.
Yeah.
Which is basically kind of what I did and you did for a period of time.
Yeah.
It's a great solution
Yeah.
to your problem.
Right, and
Yeah.
and it's not illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
it's
and it's
acceptable.
okay. The
Yeah.
whole mommy wine culture thing
Right.
is okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first sexual assault. Then I was dating somebody who was not mentally stable. I wasn't very mentally stable, you know, and he ended up being very abusive. By the time I broke up with him, I mean, it was just a very it was more than a toxic relationship. It was just bad. And one time I had come home from cosmetology school and he was in my bed. And this man is 6'5", over 200 something pounds. And he then wants to have sex with me. We're broken up. He's broken into my house. My phone is in the kitchen.
Right.
I'm like, what do you do other than be compliant in a situation like that, knowing that this is somebody who is not safe with me physically. He had
Mm.
never raped me while we were together, but he had physically harmed me and emotionally.
Right.
So I just got in bed thinking, okay, well, like when he falls asleep, then I'll get up or I'll move or I'll, you know what I mean? Just something like, okay, I'm just going to like be compliant. Well, when I lay down, he immediately like took my, put his his arm over my neck and pulled. I mean, it was almost, he could have like snapped my neck the way that he had my neck, and then he raped me. And I just laid there and I just prayed and I was like, God, please make him stop. Please don't let him finish. And he ended up not being able to because he was pretty wasted on whatever he was doing at the time.
Yeah.
So thankfully, he fell asleep. At that point, I was traumatized. I'm already scared. I had adrenaline running first, and then I'm traumatized. So
Right.
the next day, I go to the police, and they're like, well, you should have came here yesterday. Why didn't you call? Why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? Well, he was your ex-boyfriend. How do I know he's not this? And I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
dude, like, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I literally did the safest thing that I could so that I could even get here to make a report.
Yeah.
And, so, okay, that's my second time now of learning. I am just not going to get, like, help here, man, But at the same time, how do I have a crystal ball to know who I'm going to be impacted by?
Right.
Like, what they're
Yeah.
going to do to
or,
me.
yeah, that you're going to have a unhinged 6'5" man in your bed wanting sexual favors, and and y'all are broken up post relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
The breakup was not,
Sure.
clear enough. So
Did he break into your house?
Yeah.
Okay, so then
I had no idea. He had come
so-
through my sliding door. So when I came to my front door, I had no idea.
Did you like tell that to the police as well? Did you go, yeah, he broke into my house?
Yeah, I had taken a picture and I showed them how the sliding
Nothing?
door. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. So that was another. So then that was the first time that I was raped.
This was in Chicago, right?
Yes. Yeah. I've only been in Texas now for the last 5 years.
Okay.
A huge part of my recovery too, by the way, because Chicago's just got a lot of traumatic events
Yes, it does.
attached to it for me.
Unfortunately, it does.
Unfortunately, it does. Yeah. So continue to drink, and that was the way that I would cope. I was going to cosmetology school, working full time, but I would come home and I would drink 9 beers a night. And I would just eat chips and salsa. So my dinner was chips and salsa and chug 9 beers.
Right.
I was like, this is what I'm doing.
Right. Well, that would be a dream girl for some guys.
I
just
guess
so
so.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. That,
saying.
that would
Yeah.
work for me.
Yeah.
I'm not even tripping.
Yeah, but then we would both still be wasted and
Yeah.
eating chips and salsa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Somebody's going to have to
recovery.
go get more chips at
I
some
mean,
point.
okay, but what
Right.
kind of salsa are we talking? Are we talking like El Phoenix salsa? Or are
El
we
Phoenix-
talking
El
like
Phoenix salsa is legit.
it's actually
Yeah.
legit?
Yeah.
Like
Is it?
shout out El Phoenix or
Yeah.
whatever. But
It is.
I'm gonna have
good.
to get me some of that.
Anyway.
So I could check it out.
it's really not. It's not all we crack it up to
Yeah,
be.
right.
It's just we've tried so many different types of salsa living in this metroplex for.
Yeah,
I used to call it a godforsaken metroplex. This metroplex is amazing.
it
Yeah,
is.
it is.
It's an amazing place, and for like especially for recovery too. And I'm not trying to cut you off or
No,
anything.
it's
I'm
okay.
just saying it's awesome that you have a story where you came to Texas, because you hear so many people like, oh, I just got to get away and blah, blah. What you hear
Yeah.
that everywhere.
Yeah.
But it seems to have really happen around here.
Yeah.
And you came to Texas, and that's a big part of your recovery,
Yeah.
which is
It's
outstanding to hear.
huge. I mean, because you do need to get away, but there's a difference between running
Yeah.
and actually like getting away.
I was going to
purpose.
say,
You know what
yeah,
I
you
mean?
cannot outrun your addiction.
No.
For sure.
No,
I
sure.
for sure can. I got a fake leg,
It'll
so I
always
can't
find
run
you.
at all. You know what I mean?
that's okay. You can hop away though.
Yeah,
right?
I
Right,
can hop away
exactly.
from it. I'm not going to
Yeah.
get too far.
So I did go into an outpatient program a couple of times.
And what year
after
was
all
this?
of this had happened. When I was raped, that was in the beginning of 2000, or I'm sorry, like April of 08.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go to cosmetology school anymore. I was just really feeling like, how am I going to,
Yeah.
do this? But I guess being from Chicago, it's like, you got to drive in 4 feet of snow. You just got to do what you got to do, and you just kind of keep pushing through. But in doing that, you don't deal with everything that's going on. And like one of the things I always say is it's hard to be a healing adult. I mean, like I've got adult responsibilities I have to take care of, but at the same time, I I need to be at an inpatient facility.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need a vacation. I need help.
Right, yeah,
You
because
know?
I mean, were you trying to, like, I mean, as far as your recovery, were you even doing, because a lot of people, including myself, I did, the whole 12-step route. I'm
Right.
just going to start going to meetings,
Yeah.
and then hopefully that'll help.
I didn't tell nobody that I was
Yeah.
drinking as much as I was drinking. I
Right.
was doing it by myself, especially after being sexually assaulted at the bar. My whole thing was, well, I'm just going to drink at home now because
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to be out somewhere and something happened to me.
Right.
So I would just do it at home, but nobody really knew what I was doing. I mean, like, I don't know what you do at home at
Right.
night. You know what
Sure.
I mean? Nobody knew what I was doing. And I didn't want anybody to know because I don't, as much as I love to tell my story, it's not for the sympathy. I want people to see, like, you can go through hell and still come out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I
Well,
don't
and
want
you can
somebody
go
to
through hell.
sympathize
You
with
can
me all
go
the
through
time.
hell, and you can hide it too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
that's a huge part
The
that I'm
masks.
getting. Yeah, because I mean, no, like you said, you
Yeah.
would go home
Yep.
and do your thing. But it's you dealing with all this trauma that was
Right.
going on.
As long as I was a good girl all day.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody,
drink at night.
nobody knows what's going on.
No.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was how do you cope with all of that? I mean, like, it's heavy. I still have a hard time coping with that rape and being sexually assaulted. But let me, it just gets worse.
Okay.
So,
Well,
have-
please.
yeah, right. Keep drinking, end up meeting somebody's brother from cosmetology school. We're all hanging out at somebody's house. We're kind of dating and whatnot. And we would have fire pits. And I mean, like, who doesn't love to have beers on fire pits?
Of
in
course.
Cold weather, you know?
Marshmallows,
Yeah.
whatever.
Bomb. But one of these nights, a whole bunch of people came over. And I'm just going to say how I was dressed because I'll explain later. I had capris on, a tank top, and a hoodie. I'm just like, I'm kind of a tomboy type girl. I know I don't look it, but I really am like a tomboy. I love cars, camping, all of those kind
Sure.
of things.
Well, you do have an IROC, or did have an
I did.
IROC.
Yeah, my 86 IROC, man. Yeah, I bought that when I was 17.
So that's a little that's
Got
a,
rid of it.
that is a little bit of a tomboy
Yeah,
card there.
yeah.
So that's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were all there, and I just remember spurts of the night. I remember a couple of times trying to leave. I couldn't get my truck started. I remember crying, but then that was it. And then I woke up, and I was like laying on the bed, like I was in a casket, like for real, like this.
uh-huh.
And I was missing a contact. My
Oh.
arms are all bruised. And I'm like, what the hell happened last
Right.
night? And everybody's just kind of like, oh, we know you don't know what happened last night. And I'm just like, I mean, like, but it wasn't anything I had ever experienced being drunk, and especially with people that I thought I could trust, especially
Yeah.
if that was like my
Right.
boyfriend's house at the time.
Yeah, did you like change up your drinking recipe, or was
Yeah.
or was there a Bill Cosby aspect to it?
Yeah, like, all of a sudden.
a little pill, you know?
Yeah, clearly there was a little pill in the bottle that was being passed around that we were taking shots
Ah.
from. I did not know that.
Okay.
But there was. And so little by little things started coming out. The guy that I was dating, his son's mother messaged me on MySpace, right? This is like back in
Checks
the day.
out.
Shout out. Right.
Yeah. And she's like, I know exactly what happened to you, and lists it out. 3 of the guys that were at the party had taken me into a pickup truck in the driveway and raped me.
Oh wow.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, no wonder why I have a literal handprint. I've got fingerprints. I've got I mean, there's no way that I was this bruised up and consenting to something like this.
Sure.
So as soon as she had messaged me this, now, and I don't think this was like a friendly thing, or if this was like a woman to woman thing, you know, I don't know. We'd never had any type of friendship or, you know, anything before that, but she had said this, and maybe it was to get those people in trouble. I
Sure.
don't know. Whether
Maybe
it was
it's to
to be
clear her
vindictive
conscience, too.
or
yeah.
that, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, or was she? Was she involved in it in any other way than that, or?
No, not
No.
after that.
Yeah.
I just went to the doctor after I found out about, like, literally
Yeah.
went straight to the doctor
Sure.
and did an examination, and she's like, oh, you were definitely raped. I mean, she's like, you're
Yeah.
tore up. I mean,
Wow.
bad. It's not just raped. Like, you look like you've been having sex, like, all night long.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, like, it's embarrassing. And
Yeah.
it's only until like recently that I can even say the word rape or
Sure.
even listen to the words HIV or AIDS, because being tested for so many, you know, years after that just waiting for like
Oh
the
yeah.
dormantness
All of
of
a
it all
sudden,
to
yeah.
come
All
up.
of a sudden, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and so grateful I'm not
right.
pregnant from
Sure.
that
yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
You know, so I went to the police. The girl who I was friends with in cosmetology school, she starts chasing me. I start getting phone calls. They're threatening my life. I mean, like it was just utter chaos. When I get to the police station, they take all the pictures, they do everything, they interview everybody, and then they bring me back in and they say, okay, well, you know, you were drinking that night. Classic.
Sure.
One
Oh,
of the
it's
guys
trash.
admitted to it, but he was a Marine. And we're not going to press charges because we don't think that the case is strong enough. The prosecution doesn't think that. So when you go to press charges, it's really based on if the prosecution feels like they can
Yep.
win that case or if they want to push it.
Right.
The other thing is that I found out later on that the guy that I was dating and who he was involved with and things like that, they were also you know, selling things out of
Yeah.
the house, and they were watching the house. So me bringing a case against them was going
Would
to
jeopardize
interfere their
that
case.
picture. Yeah.
Right. So no.
So I mean, wow. So DNA evidence is involved.
DNA. They had pictures. They had.
Yeah.
I mean, I was practically naked at the police station when
Yeah.
they took pictures. I
Sure.
gave them all of my clothes.
Yeah.
From that night. The girl wrote
Right.
me a MySpace
Yeah,
message. This is before you could
share
delete
that.
stuff.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
And still nothing. Wow.
Yeah.
So because they wanted to bring him down on a drug charge.
Yeah. That's
So-
my belief. They didn't specifically
Okay.
say that.
Yeah,
of course.
but I mean, come on.
But yeah, I still
Do-
want to like write them
do-
and be like,
do
how do
the
you
math.
sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's messed up. I mean, like, and even just the threats.
Well,
of
and
my
what
life
about
is
the
just-
girl that's like supposedly
Chasing
your
me?
friend?
Yeah.
And she's like their muscle. to
she
keep
was
you
smaller
quiet.
than I
Yeah.
was. And
No,
it was
but she's like to
the
keep you
intimidator,
quiet. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean, like, she should be. I mean, when you're in addiction and you're around other people who are in addiction, y'all are just crazy together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that took me a long time to really kind of comprehend. I forgave these people who did these things to me fairly quickly on, and I'm not going to say like I fully forgave them, but I laid it in God's hands. I could not wake up every single morning as scared as I was for my life because I was moving forward with pressing charges, and then also just the pain. And in a way, it's a blessing that I was drugged, or I wasn't like we were drinking this and there was drugs in it, right? And
Yeah.
I don't remember it because I would hate to remember it the way that I remember my first rape.
Yeah.
Right.
Or remember when I was sexually assaulted. There's a blessing in not knowing what happened to me, but you also like want to know what happened to you, right? But
Sure. Yeah.
there's a blessing
I mean,
in that.
there's that. Yeah. I mean, there's that natural curiosity of where you obviously you were a participant in it.
Right.
But, but
like,
there.
what did I do?
Yeah.
Because it's like, did I say something? Did I do something? Like, what is going on that I'm having to be held accountable for this
Yeah.
in a sense,
Sure.
And like, yeah, I was drinking, but I don't ever think that it's a rapist is a rapist because they're a rapist.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter if I was wearing something provocatively, if I, if I was flirting with you.
You were wearing
Yeah.
capri.
I was
you were
exact-
wearing
that's
capri.
why I said it.
You were wearing capri pants and
Right.
a baseball hat.
I
you
rock
were
it, apparently.
you were asking for it.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
asking for it. So yeah, the rapes are rough. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. There's times where I don't know who's around the corner, and
Right.
these people who have done things to me are people that I knew.
Right.
This is not just
These are
something
trusted
that's been
people
out.
that you think are your friends. Yeah.
Right. But met my son's father. Let's just keep going.
Okay,
Right? So
yeah.
met my son's father, and I don't like to really pinpoint or say names for things because it's just not my place to. I just don't feel like I'm in that place to be putting everybody out there, right?
Sure.
Like, this is my business and this
Right.
is my life and this is what I experience, but I also am not like calling for like hordes of people to like attack and
Yeah,
things
right.
like that. So I say my son's father, but he's very well of what he's done and did, and that's kind of out there already, so we'll say that. But he was an addict also. He's a functioning alcoholic. I
Okay.
had no idea at that time because I was really trying to get my life together. I was a worship leader at a church. I was going home and drinking, but I was really trying not to. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like when you're quitting smoking, you're like, well, I smoked 3 cigarettes today, not a whole
Right.
pack, right?
Yeah.
So I was
Now I deserve an extra cigarette because I only
Exactly.
smoked 3.
right, yeah, it's gonna be all good. But when I'm going to church now, I'm getting my mind right. Like, I'm just really starting to make progress. And him and I started dating. We slept together right away, and I got pregnant fairly quickly. But I found out in that time that he was drinking while he was driving. He was just always drinking. He was always drunk. And
Sure.
even when I would ask him about it, he was hiding it just like I knew how to
Well,
hide
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Alcoholics hide it from other alcoholics.
Dude, of course. Well, I always tell the story of that I would hide my alcoholism. I had 3 different places where I'd buy my alcohol because I didn't want the person at the actual store
Yeah.
to think I was an alcoholic.
Dude,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Or I had a friend. I had a friend on the show, and she was like, "I just throw a lot of parties." So she's always buying enough. So.
By myself.
But just how the means we go to justify it to make sure that they don't think we have a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, don't report me.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
report me.
It's a lot of it like that last week we were talking about that intellect, and that it's a blessing to be able to be like any sort of reasonably intelligent, but it's also like it comes with its own set of problems
Yeah.
for sure, because then like you were saying, like the guilt you feel, like you're like it was your fault, like you're looking for like, what did I say wrong or what did I do wrong?
Right.
You know what I mean? When
Right.
it's nothing at all
Right.
like that. But that's as I've learned, because I know a lot of people, unfortunately, that have been victims of sexual assault and rape, and that's like one of the biggest things, and getting trapped behind behind those masks,
Yeah.
like, and then you use these external things to think, and you think you're doing so good because externally you're fine.
Right.
Yeah,
But
and
the
nobody
internal
knows.
condition
Right.
is
Nobody
just
knows the dark secret that lies behind.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and really, can I just like walk around all the time and just be sad? And like, I mean,
Yeah.
to my core, I'm literally like a unicorn. Like, I just love having fun and being happy, and that is just who I am. So for me to be sad and like hurt and upset all the time is not a place that I want to be at.
Yeah.
Plus, I have to go to a job because I need to pay my bills and I need to take care of myself. So I can't go to work and just be like a hot mess, so you learn to put these masks on. But like when you were saying about the intellect, that was a part of why I started drinking, is because of things that I did not want to see. Like I was saying to you guys earlier, there was things that I just didn't want to see, deal with, hear, none of it, but then it's like, now I stopped drinking and I can't, it's still there. I can't unsee it,
Yeah.
Right.
But then I can't unsee my healing either. And I can't unsee that, like, man, I know you need healing. Like, how do I help you?
Yeah.
Like, I know what's going on. Can I just like, like that's really why I write too, is just to get to the deeper root of like what is going on. Because if we don't uproot that stuff,
Sure.
it's coming back. I mean, it's going to come back.
And it's all just like you can either like start to deal with it now, or it just exponentially gets worse by the time that you do deal with it,
Right.
and then it might be too late at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why it's just such an important thing to have people like you, that have gone through it, like you were saying, not for like any sort of like,
I don't want the boohoo.
yeah,
it's
none
not
of
for
that.
Right.
It's because like there's somebody still out there
Yes.
that feels exactly the same,
Yep.
if not worse.
Right.
And it's that difference between being like helpless and hopeless.
Yes. Like I
Right.
always hoped I would end up at the light at the end of the tunnel. Like I knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel. No idea how to get there, but I always like focused on that. And I'm like, well, I'll just drink till I get there. I'll just,
Right.
be
Yeah,
happy till I get there.
You'll just mask it. Well,
Yeah.
before we get to the good part
Yes.
and what you do positively now, let me throw to our sponsors real quick. We have lovely Max the Axe from, exactly, shout out Max,
Yeah.
from the Lone Star Injury Attorneys. They practice in Texas and California. He's actually located out of Houston, but will travel. I know he was just in Brownsville, Texas. But if you go to thispinklawyer.com, it will take you to their website, and they are a sponsor of the show. So hit up Max the Axe and tell him that we sent you here at This Pink Cloud.
And if
go ahead.
real quick, if for some reason if like Max has, because this popped up when he was helping me out.
Right.
Like there was some things that he felt like, you know, he might not be equipped to handle or whatever because of the different type of case.
Yeah. He'll be
He'll
he'll be
instead
a
of him
resource
just being
broker.
like, hey, like here's some phone numbers or whatever. He's doing legwork.
Oh yeah, for
and,
you.
and like going out of his way to do stuff for
Yeah.
me. That is just absolutely, whether he's going to end up doing it himself or giving it to somebody else, it doesn't matter. Like this
Right.
man is like out here doing the real thing,
actually
trying
cares.
to care.
Yeah.
You know, which is like huge because lawyers can be like,
Yeah, they're just numbers people. So.
yeah.
And then our other sponsor is NeuroGlow, which is NeuroGlow.com, and they are a ketamine infusion therapy place. They help people to deal with PTSD, trauma, and they do microdosing in a clinical setting, of course, so it's not shady and you're not at a rave doing it. But so, yeah, hit up NeuroGlow.com. They've seen great results with people with addiction and dealing with trauma. So that's NeuroGlow.com. So, anyway.
Okay, I'll get back to my son's father because this is really where my
Okay.
life began to change.
All right.
Because I was trying to get myself together. Now I'm pregnant. I can't drink. I can't smoke.
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
do like
Yeah.
any of these things, right? But I also
Well, you're not
always
supposed to.
Well, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to. You know, and I'm an '80s baby. They did a lot of stuff back then. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, I always wanted to be a mother and a wife. That was just something in me since I was a little girl. I always wanted a family. And so now I'm pregnant and I'm like, oh, I'm really not, I don't got it together, you know, but I am going to get it together before this kid gets here. And well, my son's father was pretty abusive, verbally and physically. And physically after I had my son, but during, so it was just a bunch of cheating, emotional abuse, lies, just manipulation, a lot of toxic stuff. And it was just an up and down hill and battle with him. So I just knew he wasn't going to be involved in his life. Like pretty much since I was pregnant, I was like,
Right.
this is just not going to work. But I still tried because I wanted my family together. I wanted
Sure.
to make it work. And I believe if I can change and if I have this, you know, like maybe that's like the innocence about me is like, okay, well, I can change and I know I can do this. I know you can do this too. I know that if you really want this, you can make a difference. You know,
Yeah,
like,
but
let's get you help.
making him want it
Is
is
a
what
whole nother thing.
is what I always
Yes,
say.
and I,
yeah.
you know, unfortunately, it's been 11 years, and I just realized
Right.
a lot of that. And I shouldn't say 11 years with him, but just realizing that like mentality.
Yeah.
That there just are some real evil people out there. Not saying that he is one, but just some people that are like truly evil. There's some people that are caught in their addiction, and there's some people that actually want to get help and are striving to. And for me, I always was like, dude, like we could do this. Like, come
Yeah.
on, you know, like we
Yeah.
can do this together, you know. But that's just you end up locking arms with Satan, and it's just, you know, like now what?
Right.
And there's still part of you that wants to give benefit of the doubt. I get it.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart to see people, and that's why I posted that quote about like just generational traumas when they're not dealt with and healed. It's a breeding ground for, you know, so much wrong in that person's mind and life, and it affects everybody. I mean,
Right.
and some of this stuff can't
Well,
be undone.
hold on. Let's give this a plug real quick
Yeah.
because where can they go? It's your Instagram that you're driving people towards,
Yes.
and then that is where I call you a hope influencer.
Hope
You
influencer.
didn't like social influencer.
I don't like that. Yeah.
But you're growing your page.
Yes.
And it's also a springboard to help
Mm-hmm.
you know to spread light on your authorship.
Thank you. Yes. So I write all of my quotes on there, and then I also and it's really like what comes into my mind throughout my day. Mm-hmm. And every single day it's about healing for me. It's always
Right.
talking to God, talking to myself, reflecting. What have I learned? What do I see? You know, things like that. And then when I get like a lot of revelation, what I do is I'll post it. And then I also post like a blurb underneath it to go into depth a little bit more. But what I've learned is like also a quote can mean something to you, different to you, and different to me. Because
yeah.
it's all just about where
Absolutely.
we're at on our
Perception,
journey.
yeah.
Right.
Perception.
So
for
I'm
sure.
writing
Or
a
in perspective,
devotional.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Perspective,
Yeah.
totally. So I'm writing a devotional that is focused on that because more of like a self-healing type of thing because it's hard to get into therapy. It's hard to find a good therapist if you do get into therapy. Recovery, if you want to get into it, it's hard. I found it hard for me because I didn't have a lot of trust in people.
Right.
And so I didn't trust doctors. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust the people that I was going to be around.
Oh, there's some creeper doctors out there too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And I'm like, I'm trying to get away from trauma, right?
Hey, but real quick, I wanted
Yeah.
to though. I wanted to, so people follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
Spell your Instagram so
Okay.
people will know where to follow you.
Yeah, it's Surya, Surya, Nicole, Nycole.
And yes,
Okay.
she's from Chicago and has NYC in her name.
And it's all in fancy cursive. So if they
It
see
is.
it pop up,
Yes.
then you'll know you're at the right
Click
place.
on it, you'll see my face. You'll see a whole bunch of.
Inspirational quotes.
I would say
right?
inspire. Some of them are deep, man. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's some people that are like, I totally disagree with you, or they'll message me or whatever. And it's like, well, okay, well, you can, but that's, I'm not at the place where you're at,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, but what I'm saying still has validity and it still has truth to it
Mm-hmm.
because we do need to heal. Like, we can't just be like, oh, you're being too sensitive. That just seems to be like the get out of having a conversation thing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
yeah.
you're being too sensitive. And it's like, yeah, you're supposed to be.
Okay, well, we're talking about our feelings. And
Yeah.
We're talking about past trauma.
Right.
And this is how I'm dealing with
We're
it.
human.
So,
Yeah. So having my son though that was really my huge change. I just really wanted to get my life together. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I honestly probably would, even though I was leading worship and I was drinking still, I mean, I would be wasted at a party and like be, oh God, this, God, that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
But I would go and lead worship hungover and then go home and drink.
You were having a little too much Jesus juice.
Too much Jesus juice. And I just recently found out I have ADHD.
Oh, okay.
And so that played a huge part into my addiction.
Into all of it.
All right.
Yes. And then also with my trauma too, that like your mind when you have ADHD just goes like on repeat. It like snatches onto something and then it's just like you can't let it go.
I don't know if yours does this, but mine does. In like I'll replay like possible scenarios and
Yes.
outcomes, and I'll try and like relive it. Like I'll be in the middle of a conversation, I'll be completely somewhere else, like watching the events unfold. Like, damn, I should have just
Yeah.
done that or whatever.
Yes. And I don't know why it took so long. I had to go and seek this out because I'm like, something is wrong with my brain. When I relapsed over the summer, I got divorced again from somebody else. I'm not really ready to talk about that
Okay.
whole situation. But that I relapsed and I was just like, man, I self-help myself all the time. Like, why did I relapse? Why couldn't I keep myself out of this hole? And why? And so I finally got a neuropsych evaluation done, which I highly recommend for everybody. The only reason why I even knew about neuropsych evaluations is because my son has Asperger's. And that was like the best way to get his diagnosis and to see what kind of plan of treatment we needed for him.
Right.
So she's like, oh, you definitely have ADHD, and not just ADHD, but combined. So you have both. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Fine.
Checks out.
Bonus.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's like, but I don't think you should be on stimulants because the highs and the lows are really going to mess with your anxiety and your depression.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't really have depression, but my anxiety leads me into depression.
Absolutely.
If that
Right.
makes sense.
Well, and that Adderall can be a slippery slope.
another thing
I'm
that would be like-
yeah.
Yeah.
I can drink more on Adderall.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. For like a second,
Yeah.
I was like, I could like really
Oh, yay.
get the happy pill. But no. So she's like, Strattera is what I take, and that's something I take
Yeah.
daily. And so
Okay.
that has been huge for me. I can like, okay, I get a trauma thought because triggers are huge for me. I mean, like practically everything's a trigger.
Right. When I held the door open for you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, no, let me get that for myself.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm like a trigger that instantly goes into a mindset of my ADHD is like off the wall, and then I can't stop it, and then I'm drinking because I can't get my brain to shut down, and then so man, if I was just diagnosed in the 80s, when the boys were, more prominently known to have ADHD, life would have been, I think, a little bit better for me. I'm not gonna lie. But I can't remember where I was going.
Oh,
with
well, no,
this.
we were going to talk about you being an author.
Me being an
and
author,
all
yes,
the,
and
all
my
the good
writing.
stuff. And yeah, I mean,
My
we were
writing,
talking
my
about
writing.
your Instagram,
My
and
Instagram,
your
yes.
your hope quotes.
I
your
know.
hope.
See, I don't really like the focus on.
Yeah, well, hey,
too,
man,
but- well,
spotlight's back on you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I started my Instagram and my YouTube and just all these like social media platforms, specifically for my writing and for what I was just feeling like led to do. It wasn't. It was just so much further within me than writing down in a journal. It was like, you need to put this out there. And I really felt, and I believe that God told me back in 2015 that I needed to go more publicly because I had an argument with him and I was like, I don't want to.
Sure.
I don't want to. I don't
Yeah.
want to. I don't want to tell people
This
my
is not a
business.
comfortable spot that you're in to tell people about multiple sexual assaults.
Yes, and like
Yeah.
the disgustingness that comes from when I have done videos about that, like, oh, well, you deserved it, or if you know what I mean? Like the social, like society stigma of all of these things, like
Right.
the lack of responsibility. It's like, okay, well, is this just to be a bully, or maybe you're actually a rapist? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like a lot
Yeah.
of people don't realize when they say that kind of stuff, you're calling yourself out.
And people
know.
people love to point out. That's something that I really learned in recovery too. Is like, it doesn't matter if we're fucked up or we're not.
Yeah.
Like people are sick in their own way.
Yes.
And behaviors that like they may point out in you that they don't like or they want to talk shit on.
Yeah.
It's generally because it's something that they see in themselves that
Right.
scares the shit
Oh,
out of
yeah, that makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, I mean, that somebody could, it's really crazy. I'm going to like loop this around,
Yeah.
but somebody could literally go and say like, oh, it was your fault and blah, blah, blah. And then like, because they opened up and like, and maybe they had a realization right there
Yeah.
that even something as simple as that could change their life because they're like, holy shit, I can't believe I said that. Now
Yeah.
I only said that because I feel like that.
Right.
Maybe she's right type
Yeah.
shit. You know
Yeah.
what I
Right.
mean? And
Yeah.
if you don't have people hating on you, you're probably doing something wrong.
True. Very true.
Like,
There you
and that's
go.
just
Very
just
true.
how it is.
I've learned to
So-
get better about blocking and not being affected by it because
Yeah.
there's a ton of people that can really like throw me off course. I mean, there's
Yeah.
people that are even close to me that can't.
But then don't let that part take over.
No.
And do not give it the power.
The power, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, don't give that the
Well, if
power.
anything, they
but
need
then,
it.
But then,
Yeah,
but
Right?
then also just think about how much positive
Yes.
feedback you get.
Yes.
And so, and I guarantee you, the positive feedback
Yeah.
outweighs the haters.
It totally does.
Yeah.
And I know there's more people like me that were secretly in addiction that also I secretly went through recovery because I
Yeah.
decided like I can't trust anybody, but I need to cut this off, right? And so I secretly went through recovery. Recently when I relapsed, I did end up going to a group and then getting involved with the Phoenix and things like that. which
Right,
have been
and then shout out
instrumental.
Shout out
the
Dawn
Phoenix.
and
Shout out to
the
the
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Well, the
Dawn.
Phoenix,
Yeah.
Phoenix, and tell them what the Phoenix is.
The Phoenix is just a community of people. We do free, let me put the free thing out there because
Yeah.
it's so hard to find free things, but fun free things. Like we do art, music, we go
Right.
meet up for coffee, games, hiking.
It's a sober,
It's a
active
social
community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Safe
they're-
social community. I mean, and let me tell you from somebody who
Yeah,
rarely
right.
feels safe,
Yeah.
this is an environment that I feel safe in. And I know that if I would have found them sooner, I would have thrived in my recovery.
Right.
I know that because the safety thing is a huge thing for me. If I don't feel safe,
Oh, yeah.
I am like, I'm on edge, but
Yeah.
I feel safe there. The one thing I love too is that we don't have to talk about our recovery all the time. We just know that we're all
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
sober. We don't have. It's not like meetings where like that for me just felt like constant regurgitation, and it didn't help for me. And the Phoenix, like we all just
You
chill
just you
and
just
laugh and
live and
live, yeah.
and coexist.
learn how to do new
Yeah,
things,
right,
make new
exactly.
friends. You know. But with my writing is I was like I know there's more people like me
Mm-hmm.
that are secretly doing stuff. And where is everybody on their phones? Flip, 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 flip.
Right.
Secretly looking at things, right? So even if you're not liking my post, I know you're seeing it. I know you're reading it. And you may not get it right now, but you might get it later on. Like these are seeds. Like I really, truly am putting seeds out there
Right.
that are going to grow. There's times I watch my videos. I read my own quotes. I read my own writings. I revert back to it for
And
myself
sometimes
too.
you're like, man, that was good advice.
Yeah, I was like,
need
man, I wanna be
I need
her.
I need to listen to that.
yeah, I'm not feeling like
But so
that.
don't you actually have like your first book coming out,
Yes,
right? So
yes, I'm so excited.
This is the big build up here.
It is a big build-up.
Yeah, so let's hear
So
it.
I am publishing a devotional that is really like a self-reflective devotional. So it's
Okay.
not solely focused on like, oh, this is what God says and you have to do X, Y, and Z in the Bible. But it's my quote and then it's my writings. And with this devotional, I am going to attach like a Bible verse to it because I really we could have a whole nother conversation.
Are you talking about
this.
maybe like a biblical verse that inspired or the inspiration behind maybe that
kind of
inspiration?
it
or
ties
what?
into the quote because I've been in the church for a long time in different denominations, and the one thing that I notice is that it's just very surface. We all read the Bible. We're supposed to do this, 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 and this, but that's like concrete things. Like we're soft, squishy people, right? We have feelings. Like there's deeper things. And so, like, if you read one of my quotes, you could be like, oh, well, that's not in the Bible. Let me show you where it's at.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah.
I'm trying to like really make the Bible more relatable, because that's what helps for me is I read my Bible, but I make it relatable to me and like what I'm going through. And I don't like have this, put these other people that were in the Bible on a pedestal to the point where it's so unattainable for me to live, for me to heal, or me to be forgiven.
It sounds like you kind of maybe make it more relatable or modern day, where we're talking about people, thousands of years ago. So it's
like, like a popular quote, for example, it's not mine, but God doesn't like ugly. Like, I'm sure we've heard that 1,000 times.
Sure.
The whole Bible is about God loving ugly.
Yeah.
Right? So I try to untangle all the nonsense and the misconceptions and the misunderstandings of a lot of things. So I'm not trying to necessarily drive anybody to God. This is not
right.
It's not necessarily about that.
It's not necessarily faith-based.
It's not faith-based. This first one, just because I promised God when he told me to do it, it would be like that. That's how it's going to be. But then I'm going to do other topic-focused ones. But the format of it is going to be my quote and then a more in-depth writing of the quote. And then there's going to be a side page where you could just kind of like reflect on your own and have this journaling time. And I'm going to do a daily one at first. But it's super important to like read something and not just take it because you told me to do that and I want to live like you.
Why are you pointing at me?
Why aren't you? Yeah. I know. You have to be yourself.
Right.
You have to learn yourself.
You have to be your authentic self. I agree.
Yes.
And all the discomfort that comes with it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and the awkwardness and
not get hired drunk because of the awkwardness and the uncomfortableness.
Exactly.
Man, it's rough.
It's
rough.
Well, so and then are you close to this actually being published?
Completed?
Yeah, completed.
Yes, I should be. I'm gonna say February.
I'm
It'll be out on Amazon. I have an author page on Amazon.
Okay.
Awesome.
And so by February.
Okay, well, if it comes out by February,
Yes.
we're going to have you back on.
Oh, I'll be back. Yeah.
But if it doesn't, then we're just going to write you off.
Oh, man. No, you can't. Like, once
kidding.
once we're cool, like,
Okay,
y'all
so-
never getting rid of me now.
February, she is going to be here every week,
Yeah.
which, hey, I'm okay with.
Cool. I'll be a sponsor, maybe.
But hey, there you go.
Right?
There you go. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go to your Instagram and spell that again for the people.
Okay.
Because I know it's Soraya.
Yes.
But it's kind of spelt Surye.
Syrie?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's another story with that.
But go
I
ahead.
got lots of stories,
So,
man. But yeah, Soraya.
Spell it out for the
So
people.
it's SURYANYCOLE.
Right.
And that's it.
And that's Instagram.
Instagram
And
and all
then-
social media platforms.
And then you'll have
captured
all,
that, yeah.
but that's
Instagram.
that's your main one.
Yes.
And then you'll have all the juicy details about your book when it comes out in February.
In fact, by
In-
February.
By February.
Yes, goals.
Okay.
Gotta stay
Yeah.
the goalpost.
For Valentine's Day.
Before
right?
before Valentine's
for
Day.
Valentine's Day.
Before Valentine's Day.
There we
Yes.
go. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we appreciate you coming on, and I mean,
Thank you for
honestly,
having me.
it takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage, and I applaud that courage
Thank you.
for
Absolutely.
you coming on talking about this. And then I always like to give the guest an opportunity to shout out anybody they want to.
Okay, I'm gonna shout out my son first because if it wasn't for his life, I would not have a life,
Okay.
honestly, and he knows that too.
Okay.
He's a very wise young man. God.
How old is your son?
He is 12.
Do we say his first name?
Vaughn.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Hey, that's a cool name.
Isn't
Is
it?
it VON or VA?
VAUGHN.
Oh, there we
yes.
go. Vaughn.
Yes.
Vahoon.
Yes. Yeah.
But shout out Vaughn.
Shout out to Vaughn.
Uh-huh.
And then just my friends and family. I don't have any specific, I mean, God has
Shout
got
out,
a way of.
Shout out to the Phoenix.
Yeah, God, and the
Yeah,
Phoenix for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, but God's
Yeah.
got a way of just putting people into your life when you need them, and sometimes you don't need certain people in your life, and they got to fall away or whatnot. It's not about hate. It's just about
It's all a learning
and loving and
experience. Yeah.
moving forward and appreciating where somebody else is at and where you're at. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
It's all about perspective and gaining it and you being practical about like
Yeah.
when you can use it.
Right.
And that's what I think is so important about what you're doing, because and I mean even just like reading just some of the quotes it's just I don't care what kind of hate you get for it. You know, like, because we need shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of
Yeah.
of how one person might feel because they read something that applied to them
Right.
and got pissed off about it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's just.
I'm mad you hit a little too close to home.
Yeah.
But like it or not, I'm in
Right.
your head now.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're mad about what I wrote, but
Sure.
you're going to be, oh, I'm so pissed off about
Right.
what she wrote. But guess
Right.
what? You're going to keep regurgitating
Yeah, and then
that.
they're gonna fucking say it to somebody else. Like, can you believe
Right.
that you would say
Yeah.
that? And
Yes.
then the other
pass it.
person's like, yeah, well, check it out. That was pretty live. So
That's funny.
For real.
Well, hey, thanks for coming out again.
Thank you.
Please, everybody, follow her on the Instagram. Actually, you can while you're doing that, you can follow This Pink Cloud on Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah.
And please also go to thispinkcloud.com. And that will take you to our YouTube channel, and be sure and subscribe. And if not, we're on all other major streaming platforms. And if we sound good, it's because of this guy, Chad.
Yeah.
Chad Lamons.
Yeah, dude.
You weren't ready for it.
I wasn't ready for it.
You
No.
weren't ready for
I
it.
started clapping for you.
I
That's all
appreciate
good.
it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, but hey, thanks for coming out. Appreciate you sitting
Absolutely.
in. We will be have a safe holidays, and don't try to stay away from the drinks and the drugs.
Yes, you can do it. Come to my
Yeah.
page instead.
There you
Yeah,
go. Sounds good.
absolutely.
Hey, well, I appreciate you guys coming out, and be sure and join us next week. We'll have something interesting again. And remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.
Hell yeah.
Don't go. Don't go. Don't go. Don't go. Drop the bomb.